Color has a major impact on how a film is perceived by the audience. Filmic, sci-fi, blockbuster. Just as often as a colorist will use bright, punchy colors, they will also use dull, desaturated ones to enhance a story. To bring out the full range of human emotions through color, it is fundamental to understand the 5 basic concepts that affect how your footage is captured and eventually displayed. Dynamic range, color space, gamma curves, chroma subsampling, and today's topic, color bit depth. This is color bit depth explained. To understand what to look for in your next camera before you fall for the hype, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay in the loop. So what is color bit depth and how does it work? Originally, when cinematographers shot exclusively on film, each individual color on the RGB spectrum had to be captured as negatives on separate film stocks and then combined later in post. The most famous of these dye transfer processes was known as Technicolor, and it produced classics, most notably The Wizard of Oz and Vertigo. In modern digital cameras, each channel of the RGB spectrum is now being recorded in numerical values known as bits, 1 for on and 0 for off. When someone is referring to color bit depth, they are talking about the number of bits being recorded per color channel. 2 is for the number of possible variations, while 8 is the number of instances, and finally 3 represents the number of channels that is being multiplied together, resulting in 16 million possible colors per pixel in footage that is captured in 8-bit. To simply put it, the more bits, the more possible colors. So why would a cinematographer look for a camera with a greater bit depth? Let's look at a couple different scenarios, starting with gradients. Modern sensors capture light as a signal before it is compressed into different levels. In scenes where there's a lot of tonal variation, such as this one, sometimes the signal required to jump from one level to the next is too high, making the camera insensitive to small changes. As a result, blocks of color become apparent in the final footage. This is known as color banding, and it is more apparent in cameras with lower color bit depths. However, there is another, more practical reason why cinematographers typically look for cameras that are able to shoot in higher bit depths: color grading. Having footage that is shot in a higher bit depth allows the colorist to select and bend colors more cleanly in post. Take a look at these two scenes, for example. On the right, the footage was shot in 8-bit, while on the left, it was shot in 12-bit. As long as both shots are exposed properly, it is difficult to tell the difference, but as soon as a color is being isolated, notice how the left has a much cleaner selection, while the right becomes unusable. Being able to select and isolate a certain range of colors gives the director more creative control over their footage, and as a result, they produce films that have a distinct look. That is why cameras that are able to record in higher bit depths are generally more desirable and more expensive. Lastly, there is another factor that will affect your ability to change colors in post-production: chroma subsampling. I'll be covering this in detail in a later episode for the sake of simplicity. So how do you avoid banding while maximizing the colors that are available to you in post-production? Get to know the limits of your footage. It's possible to make footage coming out of all modern cameras pleasing to the eye. Getting to know the type of footage your camera shoots and how it needs to be exposed to look its best is crucial to maximizing its flexibility in post, regardless of what bit depth and what camera you're shooting on. The same shot, even when overexposed by a quarter of a stop, looks significantly worse than its properly exposed counterpart. But does color bit depth actually matter? If you are someone who is looking to test the limits of what colors your footage can produce, or planning on shooting scenes with extreme tonal variation, then yes. But for the average user who is just planning on doing some basic color correction, color bit depth matters a lot less. It is more important that you have a thorough understanding of the exposure triangle and shot composition to help tell the story you envision. Whether you plan on using colors to achieve a certain stylistic look, or just planning on getting the most accurate to life colors, understanding color bit depth in relation to dynamic range, color space, gamma curves, and chroma subsampling is crucial to achieving the feeling that you're seeking to reproduce with your footage. Did I get everything right? Please share your thoughts in the comment sections down below. In the next episode, I'll cover chroma subsampling and how it affects the resolution of your image. Love you.
Before I sign off, I'd just like to say thank you so much for those who have subscribed and for those who continue to support me. We have finally reached 10 subscribers. Also, a quick little disclaimer that some of the footage that is used to explain concepts is actually simulated, because it's incredibly hard to show something like banding to someone who isn't specifically looking for it. Lastly, any of the footage that isn't my own that I've taken from other creators, I've left their channel in the description box down below so you can go check them out yourselves. Anyways, I hope you're having a great day. See you in the next one.